Hello, this is Wmpyr. Okay, so I am about to start moving, and when that starts, I'm definitely not going to be able to be making any videos. And right now, I know it's become less and less just because I've had to focus on this move. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to squeeze one in real quick. This one. To me, actually, even though this is like almost last second idea for a video, it is an extremely important message that I'm going to try to impart to you guys. It's super valuable, in my opinion. And I was just talking about this with my longtime friend um, from back in the day about this subject. So, uh, yeah, so I don't know, like a week or two, maybe like 2 weeks ago, I saw a video. I saw a video of this guy. He's an older guy, and you could tell he works out a lot. He's jacked, you know. He takes his training seriously. So he works out a lot. He's an older guy. He obviously, to look like that, he's put a lot of effort into that, and then he's teaching people self-defense. So he takes this stuff very, very seriously. I can tell, you know. Um, and the self-defense is he's teaching people to train, and the techniques he's teaching is he uses like a kubotan, and he is just telling you basically hit the guy in the throat, in the eye, and in the temple, and he's showing you how to hit hard and to keep going and to take the bad guy out. and you if you've been on my YouTube channel, then you know I have a problem with this. I say that even though he's an older adult, and possibly older than me, and I'm at a pretty good age. I'm going to be 50 this year. I feel like this dude is still living in a fantasy world of, he's living in the eighth grade mindset. That's what I call it. In Japan, we have a word for that, and yeah, they literally call it the eighth grader syndrome. And yeah, so the idea that in a self-defense situation, the bad guy is gonna, mess with you or whatever, and you're gonna you are going to explode and destroy the guy and, make him regret his life choices, his life decisions. This is a fantasy. It's like, dude, you're living in a total fantasy world. And the sad thing about this is he's teaching this, and I didn't see like how popular his YouTube channel was, but he did have a lot of comments on there, and people were thanking him. And they were saying, thank you for, teaching us this and blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And it's just like, you guys have no idea. This is one of those where I feel like the quality control on YouTube, you got people that really don't know what the hell they're talking about teaching stuff. And, that just sounds like I know what I'm talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And it makes me sound super arrogant. But look, all I'm saying is there's holes in what he's saying. And I'm here not to say that I'm right, he's wrong, but I'm here to say he has some holes in his ideas. And one of the biggest holes, and it's not just him, it goes to a lot of other people, and one of the biggest holes is this. When he started describing the self-defense situation, the context, right? The context he was talking about was not a self-defense situation. Okay? And this is extremely important. This is because, it's like if you're a plumber and you're going to use a wrench to fix, the pipe or whatever, you have to know the context, right? So if someone said, can you fix my AC unit? Well, that's the wrong context. That's not what I am. I am a plumber. I do not fix the AC unit. I am not an electrician. right? So that is incredibly, incredibly important. And it's going to affect the tools. It's going to affect the person you call, everything. You have to call the right person. You have to know what the problem is. So the context is super important. What this guy described, right? What he was talking about was, he was like, what he said was like, this is the holidays, and I'm gonna take the Kubotan onto the plane, and if they ask me what's up with this, I'm just gonna tell them, I'm gonna tell security, hey, this is for a massage. I'm an older guy, and being on a plane for that long, it really messes me up. So I need to massage and get the blood flowing. So this really helps. Okay, that makes sense, right? That's a good excuse. And chances are 90% of the time he is going to be using it for that purpose and not for beating someone's ass. So it's not just an excuse. It's a real reason. So I'm all for that. I'm all for that. If you can, if you could get away with that, great. That's wonderful, right? The problem is, what he's talking about is like, on the holidays in the plane, we're all packed up into the plane. It's not a pleasant experience. We're all frustrated. We're already stressed out. Okay, so someone gets a little bent out of shape, out of hand, and then he's going to use this on that person. Once again, that is not a self-defense situation. Even if the person, cuts in line in front of you, or does something disrespectful, or whatever, right? That is not a self-defense situation. That is a civilian that went a little off the normal boundaries of the way a person's supposed to behave. That's all that is. That is not a life or death situation where now you got to beat the guy badly and send him to the hospital. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You guys see what I'm saying? Yes, there's people, regular people can be scary, and regular people can be abusive, and regular people can be extremely disrespectful, self-centered, and all these things, but it's still not to the level of a criminal that's premeditated and trying to turn you into a victim. This is different. This is different. What this guy is teaching is saying, hey, I'm training, and I'm buff, and I put all this time into this because I'm an insecure bastard. I'm this old, and I never figured it out, and I'm still at this level of communication where it's like, I don't take shit from nobody. So if you go out of line, I can take out my Kubotan and I will beat the hell out of you. That's a bully. Okay? And there's probably other people walking around with that same mentality. But to me, those people aren't threatening. Actually, their attitude and all that is very threatening, but I don't see it as the threat that I'm worried about. So if someone acts like that in front of me, they're wearing an MMA t-shirt and they're acting like they own the place, and they look at me like I'm just a small sheep, whatever, I don't care. And yeah, they might do something that I don't like. They might do something that's unpleasant, and they act like, well, that's because you're weak, and that's because I'm 100 pounds heavier than you are, and I lift weights and whatever. Whatever. I don't care. Let that go. You let that go, With the martial arts, it's not about, I have these skills so you don't fuck with me. No, that's not martial arts. Martial arts is, I am on a higher spiritual path, so I can let this go. So that's the way that I view that. And so this guy's teaching people to be more intolerant towards other civilians, towards other people. What I'm dealing with, what I'm teaching you guys, is against criminals, against someone that's gonna try to end you, someone that's gonna try to, for the stupidest of reasons, for your wallet, something like that. They want to end your life for your wallet, someone like that. That's what I'm dealing with. Not, this guy at the mall behaved disrespectfully. No, I don't care about that. You got to learn to let that go, you know? Same with, you have children, and your children is playing a sport or something, and these parents that, they get so into it and they become hostile towards each other. Those are sad human beings. Sad, 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 pathetic human beings, And same with road rage. You're gonna kill someone because they cut you off in traffic? That is a reason to kill somebody? you know, that's a sad human being. And that is temporary insanity. That is a normal civilian that just the temper got a hold of them and they made the biggest mistake of their life. That's what that is, And if you had not gotten involved in any of that, then that wouldn't even exist. So it takes two for the road rage to happen, Now that being said, I'm sure there are cases where that's not true. But anyway, you guys understand what I'm saying. We have to learn to let that go and believe in karma and understand that that person with that kind of attitude is it's just a matter of time until they have that attitude and they do it to the wrong person. It's just a matter of time. And that's if they're lucky. If they're lucky, they'll learn that lesson. If they don't learn that lesson, well, guess what? They'll be that miserable human being and they'll never learn, and they'll be that person for the rest of their life. And guess what? People won't like you if that's how you are. You're an insecure bastard. You have temper problems. To me, this is like the worst thing. If all of you, anyone watching this video, and you acknowledge to yourself, yeah, sometimes my temper gets a hold of me. Dude, that is not a good thing. Just admitting it doesn't solve the problem. And in fact, that's a severely bad thing. You need to work on that. And I would advise you to start working on it now, because we only live for so long. And the temper is the worst thing. It really, really, I grew up with the mentality that if you get angry, then you become unstoppable. And that's a good thing. And when I'm unstoppable, I can accomplish anything. I could fight armies by myself. This is the mentality that I grew up in. I was brainwashed, from countless movies and comic books and manga that I've read. So I've had this mentality, and I could tell you it's caused nothing but problems. And it took me a long time to control that and become better with that. And I'm not saying that I've solved it, but I've become much, much better than what I used to be. And I wish that I could control it more, and I wish that I had started earlier. So for anybody else, I tell you, that's a severely minus in your personality, and it sucks. It sucks for everyone around you, and it sucks for you. And everyone around you, the people that are closest to you, the people you love the most, it really sucks for them. And also, like I said, it sucks for you too, to be that way. So that control your temper, folks, to be able to learn patience and to be able to diffuse it. Super, super important. And people that can't, which a lot of people can't, I mean, yeah, if they're wondering why life is so hostile and difficult, that's got to be a huge part of the problem. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.